don't think there's any other way that I can start off my review of AEW Revolution without the words, "Thank you, Sting." Hello and welcome to FCTR, I am Hugh McQuaid, and today we are talking about AEW Revolution 2024, the big AEW pay-per-view that was last night, featuring the last match of Sting's illustrious career, taking on the Young Bucks. We'll dive into all of this. We will dive into my overall thoughts on the show, every match, every angle, everything that happened. But before we do that, please hit subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts down below and what you thought of the show. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know everything you want and I'll try to apply to every single one of them as we talk about Revolution 2024. So I did not do a review of World's End, the last AEW pay-per-view, because AEW World's End was not particularly good in my opinion. And I didn't end up doing it. I couldn't find the motivation to do it. So I had a bit of a mixed opinion going into AEW Revolution. Revolutions have usually been spectacular. I think they're probably like the strongest of the shows that AEW puts on. And I was cautiously optimistic. This show was great. It was like an A. It was top tier wrestling storytelling. Now, does that excuse it from continuous issues that I find with AEW shows, like the length, like excessive matches and excessive match times? Yes, there are moments of that. But I think top to bottom, the matches on this card were fantastic. They were so good. The main event was great, and match of the year contender slotted somewhere in the middle. An awesome triple threat, a great opener, a better, what's it called, second opener, the match following the first match, whatever. And it was just great. I really enjoyed Revolution, and I'll dive into some of my problems, some of my issues with it when I get to the specific matches. But let's start with a rundown of the card and everything that happened. I did not watch the pre-show, so I did not see the Bang Bang Scissor Gang take on, I hate calling them this, but Team TNA, only because I watch Wrestle Talk. And I didn't see Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale take on Sky Blue and Julia Hart. So I didn't see them. My main show kicked off with Christian Cage defending the TNT Championship against Daniel Garcia. This match I thought was really good. I like the psychology of this match, of Christian Cage working over Daniel Garcia, and then Garcia gets a little flurry in, Christian gets scared and tries to win by countout. I like that story. They did the countout spot a lot, of Christian just clocking Daniel Garcia and knocking him to the floor and taking him down that way and trying to get that countout win, and Daniel Garcia just working the leg, constantly working over the leg of Christian, which led to a utterly fantastic near fall when Christian goes for the spear. His leg buckles, and I believe Garcia hits him with a pile driver, and the kick out there was so close, so close. Great work from Christian kicking out there. And from there you had interference, because we all knew the patriarchy was going to get involved. You had a big choke slam from Luchasaurus to Daniel Garcia while Aubrey's back was turned, which led to Daddy Magic running down and brawling with Luchasaurus. Kill switch. I'm sorry Christian Cage. And it was in this distraction that Nick Wayne got up from, after being beaten down at ringside from Garcia, got up and hit a cutter on the apron to Garcia, and Garcia gets hit with the kill switch for the 1-2-3, and Christian retains. No Adam Copeland, no interference sort of from any outside forces on behalf of Daniel Garcia. You only had Daddy Magic sort of make that interaction. And yeah, I think a lot of people thought that this was going to be Garcia's moment, but I think Christian is so good with that belt. Taking it away from him at this point would not be the right decision, unfortunately, for Garcia. But I thought this was a really strong opener, really strong, and I was really happy with it. Then we got Bryan Danielson taking on Eddie Kingston for the Continental Crown Championship in a match that was, I hate to say better than I expected, because you've got Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson in there, but this hasn't been my favourite story that's been going on. I'm not invested in the Continental Crown Championship, but they went out of their way to show me why I should care about the Continental Championship and why I should care about every single match that Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson are in, because this was fantastic, absolutely fantastic stuff. Just let me check my notes for a moment. There was a lot of really cool stuff in this. It ultimately came down to being a grappling versus striking contest. The best technical wrestler in the world, apart from Zack Sabre Jr., Bryan Danielson, taking on the striking ability of Eddie Kingston. They were putting that over a lot on commentary, and sort of the holds that Bryan Danielson would get Kingston in, and he destroyed the hand. He was destroying the hand so that he couldn't hit the Hurricane for the spinning back fist. Great psychology there. Absolutely great psychology. And I really liked how that played out. Danielson hits a suplex from the apron to the floor, which looked nasty. And Danielson starts working over the arm and the hand and hits the Psycho knee for a very, very near fall and locks in a choke. It looks like Eddie's going to pass out at this point. Eddie resists. He keeps firing back, hits huge suplexes, and then you get the big sort of fighting spirit moment where Eddie fires up, no-sells the suplex, and then runs back. He hits a clothesline and then a powerbomb for the 1, 2, 3. Eddie Kingston retains the championship. This was the outcome I was expecting, but the match itself was so good that I didn't care for this one, because this was a fantastic show of wrestling, a fantastic story told by two top-class wrestlers, and this was just great in-ring storytelling. It really, really was. I don't have anything else to say about this. After, the stipulation of the match was that Bryan Danielson had to shake the hand of Eddie Kingston, and after sort of teasing he's not going to, he does, and it's quite cathartic. That's the end of this story for these two, and it was a nice ending, a really nicely told story. So I'm really happy with it. It was great. Then you got the All-Star Scramble match, which had Wardlow taking on Chris Jericho, taking on Powerhouse Hobbs, taking on Lance Archer, taking on Hook, taking on Brian Cage, taking on Magnus, taking on Dante Martin. This was one of those matches that I didn't think needed to be on the show. I don't think this helped a lot of people, and I will get into that, because not only did I feel like the match itself was good, I'm not going to fault any of the wrestling on this show. The wrestling throughout was just fantastic, but this went long, so I've got the time here. It went 16 minutes, and I think there was always going to be one. There were a few contenders in there, like Jericho, like potentially Powerhouse Hobbs, but the other guys in this match never really bought into a chance of winning. And I think the main issue I have with this match, there was some cool stuff in there, cool superplex spots, lots of meat chants, a nice double lion salt from Magnus and Chris Jericho, but Wardlow won with a powerbomb, 1, 2, 3. The reason I didn't like this being on this show is because it did kind of telegraph who's going to win the triple threat. And I like my wrestling shows to be as unpredictable as possible. With Wardlow winning here, and this being for a future AEW World Championship shot, you have to factor in Wardlow into who's in the triple threat, which automatically eliminates Hangman. There's zero chance, zero tension for me that Hangman was going to win the triple threat, because they're not going to do heel versus heel. Swerve as well, sort of eliminated in that regard. So I found it stifled the triple threat for me. I think this would have been more beneficial to have done on this week's Dynamite. And there you have Wardlow, you have him stare down with Joe after Joe has won, and you set up that feud regardless. This took away some of the drama from the not main event, the triple threat for me, and I wasn't a big fan of it. Wardlow winning, okay, we need to give as much to the Undisputed Kingdom as we possibly can, because they are drowning. They are not a fantastic act, personally, in my opinion. So I understand Wardlow. I understand the Wardlow-Joe feud is going to be fun. But yeah, not for me, this. Didn't really click. Next up, we continued the Undisputed Kingdom stuff as Roderick Strong took on Orange Cassidy for the International Championship. This was good. Like, I thought this was going to be a really big banger, but it wasn't. It was fine. It was good. I like the story of this match, that obviously the ribs of Orange Cassidy are completely taped up. He is going to have a bad time going up against the Messiah of the Backbreaker, Roderick Strong. And Roderick Strong destroyed the man's poor back. He hit lots of backbreakers. He hit a great gut-wrench backbreaker on the top rope to the turnbuckle, which looked absolutely gnarly. And it sort of went the way I thought it would. You have Orange Cassidy having some great near spots, hitting the Stundog Millionaire from out of nowhere, hitting the beach break, but Roderick Strong is too close to the ropes, hitting a orange punch from out of nowhere. But ultimately, Roderick Strong picked up the win and picked up the championship. This was a much needed win for Roderick Strong and the Undisputed Kingdom, because like I said previously, their back group is just not working for me. They need as much gold as possible, and I think this was great. The post-match was interesting. So from out of nowhere, just Kyle O'Reilly just ducks into shot behind Roderick Strong, and it's like, whoa, that's a bit from out of nowhere. Okay, I'm down for this. And Kyle O'Reilly stares at Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong goes to hand in the t-shirt. Kyle O'Reilly rejects it, walks out the ring, and looks like he's getting quite emotional. No Adam Cole here. Interesting. Are we going to have Kyle O'Reilly have friction with the Undisputed Kingdom? Is he going to eventually join? Is he going to be back up to MJF? There's a lot of intrigue here, a lot of intrigue into what is going to go on with this story, and I feel like this injected a little bit of life into the Undisputed Kingdom stuff, as well as the championship belt. So following on from my previous thoughts, I'm more invested into the Undisputed Kingdom now, but they've got a long way to go, even with the debut of Kyle O'Reilly. The match itself, fun, but nothing fantastic. Then we got my second favourite match of the night, and I will tell you why the Blackpool Combat Club versus FTR was my second favourite match of the night, because at the beginning of this match, I was not feeling it. I was like, this show is 4 hours long. I don't feel like this needs to be on pay-per-view. This could have been on a special episode of Dynamite, or they could have done a big hardcore stuff at AEW Big Business, for example. But no, I guess we got it on the show. They got me so into this match. This was a fantastic tag team match. It shows why you should never bet against FTR in a tag team environment, because they will always put on banging matches. The majority of this match was the Blackpool Combat Club working over Cash Wheeler. He was getting worked over a lot of the time in this match was spent working over poor Cash Wheeler. And then it built to the hot tag from, I nearly said Dash Wilder. Why am I doing Dax Harwood? From Dax Harwood, who had a great hot tag, really cool stuff. And then just one spot happened where I was like, that is fantastic. And that is FTR go to do the Doomsday Device on Claudio Castagnoli. And Claudio counters it into a spinning power slam, which was amazing. And then another Doomsday Device, but Claudio springboards off and hits an uppercut. Awesome. Dax Harwood is then pissing blood, and they get into some great finishing sequences when I've done it again. Give me a moment. When Cash Wheeler hits tope straight through the ropes, and you get this brilliant sequence with Dax and John Moxley where they're just going at each other, countering each other, Death Rider from John Moxley. Awesome. Really cool. And went into that sort of NXT vibes where you've got the double submission spot where John Moxley locks in the Bulldog choke, and Claudio grabs Cash Wheeler and gets him in a choke as well. Tap out. Well, technically, it was a pass out. Dax passed out here, and the Blackpool Combat Club won. Really cool. I'm very happy with that. I think going from the main event, give us a tag team tournament. Go on, just do it for those beautiful titles, and you can have FTR and Blackpool Combat Club in there, and Blackpool Combat Club riding this momentum, probably to the final, probably against the Bucks. I think that works perfectly. I really do, and this was an utterly fantastic match. Then we got Timeless Toni Storm taking on Deonna Purrazzo with the AEW Women's World Championship on the line. Yeah, this was in an unfortunate spot. This had to follow the tag match, which got a lot of heat from the crowd, and that's rough. That is rough. So, yeah, I don't know what to say about this. This was a good match that was in a really unfortunate spot. Like, they worked really well. Deonna Purrazzo is one of my favourite wrestlers working today. I think she's so crisp and so smooth. She's got an amazing look, an amazing promo. She's so good. The Timeless Toni Storm gimmick is not for me. I've established that. I just think they were in a rough spot. They did a lot of good work, like Maria May coming out as old Toni Storm. Past Toni Storm, with the music and with the hair and with the get-up. I thought that was really, really fun. Deonna Purrazzo outworking Toni Storm in terms of technical wrestling, I thought was really, really good. Really showing how she sort of controls the ring, controls the limbs, sets up for the Fujiwara armbar, which she managed to lock in at one point. And then it just sort of went to distraction finish. So Luther tries to get involved on one side, Maria May gets involved on the other side, and Toni Storm hits the Storm Zero for the 1, 2, 3. It was okay. Good to okay. Deonna Purrazzo is great. She's really, really great. I would have loved to have seen her win the belt, personally. But yeah, this was just in a rough spot. I'll say it again. It was in a rough spot, and it was a good match. Okay. Then we got Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita. And I think you all know, if you've not seen Revolution, you know how good this match is. This match was fucking amazing. It was goddamn fantastic. Everything you want in a Will Ospreay match was here. Everything you want in a Takeshita match was here. The near falls, the crazy spots, the brain buster that drove Will just down the turnbuckles was ruthless. And then the striking spots, the forearms were just mind-blowing. The Oscutter into a Blue Thunder Bomb was relentlessly enjoyable. I'm trying to come up with new adjectives to describe the stuff that happened in this match, but I'm not getting it. The no-sell from a German suplex combo, a sit-out German suplex combo from Takeshita. Will rolls back and hits a hidden blade from out of nowhere. It was awesome. Will picked up the win as well. Great. This was so effing good. And I don't know what else to say about it. This is just a match that you need to go out of your way to see. It's probably my favourite match of the year. I know I only said that the other day about another match, but this is everything I love in professional wrestling. Great work rate, great story, and Will Ospreay. And Takeshita. I love Takeshita as well. I wish he was featured more. This was just fantastic. Fantastic. At the end, Kyle Fletcher comes down. You get the United Empire hands in the air. And no split from the Callis family. Maybe we get a face turn for the Callis family. I don't know how you do that with Don Callis. But I feel like the group will needs to distance from the group, because you're going to get the heel heat of Don Callis. You only want babyface reactions for Will Ospreay, especially after this performance. This was incredible. An incredible match. And then we got the triple threat for the AEW World Championship as Samoa Joe took on Hangman Page and took on Swerve Strickland. Now, I've said my piece about I felt like it was predictable, but this was a great match. This was really, really good. Especially, my MVP of this match was Hangman Page. Like, his deranged heel persona, who's just so utterly pissed and angry and filled with hatred for Swerve. I love it. Everything they did together worked fantastically. And then you just had a titan of Joe who would get in the middle of that. It's sort of my favourite triple threat formula, where two people have true beef and the other one is just the outsider looking in, and this one happens to be the champion. Swerve and Hangman just kept going for each other, particularly Hangman just going after Swerve. There were some great moments in this as well, like the double powerbomb that they both did. That was really cool. And then they both look at each other and you're just like, okay, they've worked together. Hangman probably hates this. They're going to go after each other. I loved it. There were some great near falls in here, particularly on Swerve's side, particularly at the end. There was one in particular where Hangman pulls the ref out and he was so close to 3. And then you get another one where Hangman just beats down, I believe it's Bryce Remsburg who comes down and just beats him down. And you're like, okay, you have fully gone heel now. You have fully gone heel. You use the belt. You're pulling out refs, beating up refs. You are a definitive heel, Hangman Page. And Swerve Strickland, he had the babyface turn. He gets given the crown by Prince Nana to use, but instead elects not to and looks to win it fair and square. It was a really well told story. Really, really loved it. There was only one wrinkle I would add, and that is Hangman loses. Everything that Hangman's tried to do fails, in particularly because he destroyed all the refs and he gets a visual pin on Joe. That's going to destroy his character, and I'm so here for it. Hangman gets choked out by Joe for the pin, well, the submission, taps out. The only thing I would change about this is as he taps out, you have Hangman looking at Swerve. You have Swerve crawling to try and make the save. Hangman's either laughing or smiling and taps out because he's cost Swerve that title. I think that would have furthered the feud, furthered the character. The way they did it was perfectly fine. Obviously, Hangman was probably in there to take the pin because you don't want to pin Swerve. You don't want to pin Joe yet. I thought it was really, really good. Really great character stuff. Hangman is doing some of the best character work in professional wrestling right now. And yeah, I was a big, big fan of this triple threat. Not match of the night. Not the best triple threat I've seen by far, but it was really, really good. And then we had the main event. We had Sting and Darby Allin defending the AEW tag team titles against the Young Bucks in a tornado match, which was a tornado match because it was batshit. And when I say batshit, it's that one spot. It's the Darby spot. Darby climbs to the ladder. Just the other stuff. Sting gets suplexed through some tables off the ramp. Darby gets put through some tables off the ramp. They're all brawling. Really nice video package for Sting. It looked awesome. Sting came down with his sons dressed as different iterations of Sting, which I loved. And then Darby immediately hits a tope. That's all sort of the opening stuff out of the way. And then Darby sets up a ladder and sets up a pane of glass on some chairs, goes to dive on Matthew Jackson, goes through this glass, and I was like, okay, it's probably fake glass. I don't think, like, the way it shattered, I was a bit like, oh, and then Darby rolls to his back, and he is just pissing blood. Like, blood is coming all off his back, and I was like, is this the day? Is this the day we went too far? Because then it does really become Sting versus the Young Bucks and sort of this 2-on-1 handicap situation. You had the Bucks powerbomb Sting through a table, and he no-sells it, because of course he does. And then you had other people try and get involved. You had Ricky Steamboat getting a super kick. You had Ric Flair getting a super kick after trying to protect Sting. Then you had the spot that I was waiting for. I thought this was going to be the spot that would potentially like end the match. You had Matthew Jackson and Nicholas Jackson stare at Sting and say, I'm trying to remember the quote, "We're not sorry, we've always hated you," reflecting on the Shawn Michaels super kick to Ric Flair at WrestleMania 24. They hit the double super kick and Sting stays standing. Epic. Crowd goes wild. And then you have the big brawl. You have him hit. Scorpion death drops. You have Darby run back down to make the save, whose back is still pissing blood. Then it's just nice and simple. Pushes Nicholas Jackson off the top rope through a table. Darby hits a coffin drop. Sting taps out Matthew Jackson. And Sting and Darby win. Sting wins his last match. Crowd erupts. While I would have liked the Young Bucks to win this match, I think it made more story sense. Seeing the reaction, seeing the crowd, yeah, this was the right decision to have Sting win. What happens with the belts is another question, but for right now, I think it's just perfect to reflect on the career of Sting. Not just in AEW, but Sting in TNA, WWE, WCW, NWA, all the things that Sting has done. This capped off his AEW run perfectly. I did shed a tear at one point, and the show goes off the air. You had to watch the big old speech that happened after, which I thought was a bit weird. Like, I don't know how pay-per-views work, but surely you could have given them like 10 extra minutes or something like that. It was great. Really fitting way to end this show. Great last match for Sting. And I had a blast. I had an absolute blast with Revolution. I think this has sort of propelled me now to get back to AEW, because AEW, it did isolate me for a little bit. Sort of that run of 2023. Then you're like, oh, it's coming back, Continental Classic. Now I'm just invested again. I'm really, really invested in AEW, because this reminded me of the AEW that I loved from back in 2021, 2022. The matches, the shows. They've got Will Ospreay. They're probably getting a Carter in. Monet's coming. There's so much on the horizon for AEW, and I'm so excited. Overall, I give this a 4.5. I'll give this 4.5 because I loved the BCC versus FTR so much. I loved Will Ospreay versus Takeshita so much. I loved the main event. I loved the triple threat. I loved Eddie Kingston versus Bryan Danielson. There were only a few bits that didn't quite sit with me. It was great. It was utterly, utterly great. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Were you a fan? Were you not a fan? Let me know everything you want, and I'll try and apply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support, and have a nice day.